what's up?
I'm the Coder Kid.
And I'm Mr. Miyagi, and welcome to our show. Hey, what's up? And welcome to episode 2 of the Coder Kid and Mr. Miyagi. Before we get started today, I want to just go ahead and invite you guys to hit the subscribe button, like our video, and if you want to get notifications for our future videos, hit that notification button also.
In today's episode, we're going to do a deeper dive from the last episode in our development journey and how we got into software engineering particularly.
Yeah, so for me, I'm going to go ahead and give you mine first, since I'm Mr. Miyagi and I've got more to talk about than Drew would be as far as history goes. So we're going to get my long stuff out the way, and then we'll let all the entertaining good stuff for Drew come through. But for me, my first introduction into any type of coding was when I was in the military. I was in tactical telecommunications. I was part of a node switch team that had to program PBX switches to,
And when was this?
Oh,
So
yeah,
we
sorry.
can-
Yes,
I
yes.
mean-
Okay, I'm going to date myself here.
Because looking at
this
you,
was
we're
this was
like,
back
oh,
in 1988, back in the 80s, the good old golden age, But yeah, I particularly was doing a lot of tactical communications, PBX switch programming. It mainly consisted of Unix scripts. So that was my very first intro into any type of coding. And then prior to that, no coding experience. And then one day I was charged with trying to convince 2 soldiers to re-up for military service again. Yeah, command wanted me to talk them into re-upping, and after talking to the 2, they actually talked me into getting out of the military and going up with them up to Dallas.
The ones you were trying to get back
I was
in?
Yes, I was trying to pack them in. And
So
get
they
them,
didn't go back in?
No. I ended up getting out with them, and all 3 of us, took the trek back up from Fort Hood to Dallas, where we attended DeVry University. And that was pretty interesting because it was 3 years straight, 3 semesters a year, no break.
Right.
So I've got my bachelor's degree of science there at DeVry, and got my minor in accounting.
What was it in? Just science, right? Or
Yeah. So but during that time, I landed a job with Lucent Technologies for my telco experience, and I was able to transition out of telco and into software engineering at that point. And that was my first major job, and I got a lot of really good experience with Unix and Sybase and Oracle systems. But I wanted to get into more GUI type development.
Right.
So I made a jump out of the Unix world and went into basically desktop development using Visual Basic 3.x. I can't remember exactly what the number was, but I started doing some desktop development.
Right. No WPF. Not yet.
No.
That's not what it
No.
was.
So I did that for a couple of years, and then jumped into Classic ASP when I worked for Thomson Reuters. Back then it was called Thomson RA. Cut my teeth with Classic ASP. And then when .NET first came out, I started using VB.NET.
Yeah.
It was an interesting thing because the company wanted us to do front end work using VB.NET, and then all of the middle tier work and access to the database was all done in C#. So I was doing both at the same time,
Right.
which in the end turned out to be really good because I was able to get both flavors of
Right.
coding.
Yeah.
And then from there, I took a small little detour and went into my own business, doing nutrition and supplements. I had my own supplement store, but I created my own website. I
Right.
created my own e-store.
The whole e-commerce.
Yeah, I was
platform.
yes, it's my own homemade e-commerce platform. But unfortunately, I got divorced, had to sell the business, and then I dipped back into software development. And then at that point, that was right when MVC was in its infancy, and I got into MVC. Then I was introduced to web services using the good old-fashioned WSDL, things like that. And but when I was at the current company, we decided to go with a more robust web API, Microsoft's new web API, and that was pretty fun because I cut my teeth there. And I've been doing web API ever since. A lot of middle tier, back end, store procedures.
Distributed
Yeah,
systems, stuff
yeah.
like that.
But we were using jQuery to access,
Yeah,
from the front end to
yeah,
access
for the
all of,
longest time,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. jQuery was king.
Was hot
Ajax,
stuff, yeah.
yeah. I mean, just
Yeah.
bloated front end.
And it's still, I mean, there's still a lot of applications that
Yeah,
still run on
yeah.
jQuery. So
Yeah. So today, fast forward. I mean, now I do both. I do front end and back end development. And I utilize Vue. I've done some React. Haven't done any Angular yet, but my current job is gonna be utilizing Angular, so I'm gonna have to get up to speed on that. So
foreshadow.
yeah. So that's me in a nutshell, and that spans over 20 years, by the way. So
Yeah, so how many jobs was that? Did you go over all your jobs?
oh my
or-
gosh,
Yeah,
well, I
you've
can do
had-
that. Yeah, that
yeah.
was Lucent Technologies. Then I spent a 6-year stint at WebLink Wireless was the name of the company. Then Thomson Reuters, a small stint with a company called IMC Squared, and then my supplement business. Then after that, then CareSmart Solutions, a small startup. It was only 12 of us, but it was during the 2007 recession, and that didn't last long. So then
Right.
from there, I went to Telligent. A good friend of mine got me a job there, and that's where I met another good friend of mine, Joel Debris. And I actually followed Joel to my next 3 jobs, which was
You want to give him his social security
Ah!
and stuff like that? You just
No,
gave
no,
him
no,
full name.
no.
We're gonna have to bleep that
But
out.
no, I have to credit a lot to him because he'd been in the industry longer than me, actual years of experience.
Yeah.
But I went along with him, and we learned a lot of really cool stuff along the way. I followed him. We were there at Telligent. I followed him to Driven Solutions, and then I followed him to Service Autopilot, and then I left Service Autopilot, and then ended up at Code Authority.
Yep.
And I just left Code Authority this past week, and on to a new job. So I won't give the name yet till I officially start.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that you actually start on that.
Yeah. So what about you, Drew?
So yeah, how I got introduced to coding, a lot different.
Mhm.
So I actually knew I wanted to get into coding at a fairly young age. So when I was in 4th grade, I got into this huge PC game at the time called RuneScape.
Okay.
And if you haven't heard of that, you've definitely heard of like World of Warcraft. They were both kind of around the same time in the 2000s.
Okay.
Kind of took over PC gaming. So I started that and really got interested into probably gaming more than coding, right? But
Yeah.
there were things you could do like you could create private servers that were like kind of copies of RuneScape. They weren't the full-fledged thing, but they carried a lot of stuff, so you could just create these private servers and have people jump onto them. And for that, you needed some Java programming. Like you needed to program some stuff because you were modifying, like modifying how fast to skill up. And that's what these whole private servers were. It was like fascination of, you play the real game and it takes hours and hours. You would have to log thousands of hours. And I did that too. Like I played a lot of hours, but for some reason these private servers were cool too. And then later came bots, so where you could play and not really be there. So those are illegal in the space, but it was cool opportunity to get into coding. And I would say that was like in high school. So I played that game from like 4th grade up till high school.
Wow. Okay.
But didn't really get into coding till like the high school level.
Right.
And then I ended up quitting PC games for the most part. I think I played League of Legends for a little bit.
Yeah.
But primarily left that, and then I remembered coding still, and I liked it. So I got this opportunity in high school to go to Moore Norman Technology Center. And that's why I asked you if your thing was science.
Right.
Because, I mean, just to show the difference that, like, when I was going in, we knew coding was going to be
Right.
highly relevant,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
my degree is in, we'll go over computer science.
Yeah.
So I mean, because I targeted that, and I mean, you were so early that they didn't have many of those. They probably did have them out there.
Yeah, and I probably
they were-
butchered my degree. It's actually a Bachelor of Science in Computer
Oh,
Information
computer
Information
information systems.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and now like
So-
you can't find a school without like computer science.
Right,
But I know
right.
it was a harder before, obviously, when there were
Yeah.
less. We didn't know what it was, right?
Right.
So from there, started. It's this 2 year, half a day high school, half a day technology center, and you just learn the fundamentals of programming. So we
Okay,
started
cool.
in Java. That's all we did all day, or half the day we were there.
It's the first piece of code you learned to write.
Java.
Well,
yeah.
no. I mean, was it if statement? Loop statement.
Probably variables.
Variables.
right?
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Everybody starts with variables, but
Well, no, it's probably a system.out, which is like console.log,
yeah.
like just a print hello,
Okay,
right?
yeah.
Everybody goes through a hello world thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But actually, I lied because before that, I did take a programming course in high school that was in Visual Basic.
Oh, okay.
It was
yeah.
the GUI, the showing the,
Yes,
the
yes.
actual GUI. So from there, I went to. I got really interested in it. Went to college after that. I could have probably got a job after.
Mhm.
Could have been lowballed a little bit, maybe for a little while, but decided just not to do that and
Yeah,
went
yeah.
straight to college. I went to University of Central Oklahoma. Not a huge school. It was a state school. I'm from Oklahoma.
Mhm.
And just did computer science. But my real learning took place outside the classroom.
Okay.
And I'd love to like sit here and tell you, oh, college is great. Everybody should go to college, but it's definitely not required. And I have pretty strong feelings on that for software engineering. So,
Mhm.
um, probably not the video to go into that, but we'll go into it for sure.
In another episode.
Yeah. So through that though, I got several internships. First sophomore year was at Seagate Technology. It wasn't really a coding internship. There were areas of coding. We did Google app scripting. So it was just working with, I think we had a survey. So we had to send out surveys and then we had to log these responses somewhere and store them somewhere. So it was very lightweight. And that was like the only programming I think I did in that internship.
Right.
Most of it was like IT stuff and a lot of heavy Excel stuff.
Okay.
But it was a big company like Seagate Technology.
Yeah.
And then after that, went to a place called American Fidelity. And it's true, they'll tell you that your first internship is the hardest because once you get that, offers start rolling in. Not offers if you don't seek them, but
Right.
it's a lot easier to get those next offers because it's like you had an internship and a lot of kids didn't. And I don't know why that is. I don't know why like the state schools haven't got to that point where they're really making kids do like internships. I think it's a great thing. I think it should be required.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason in Oklahoma it wasn't like that, or the school I went to anyways. So after Seagate got the opportunity at American Fidelity, that was more web development, .NET MVC, C#.
Wow.
Not really any front end yet.
Okay.
I think they were actually taking a class over Angular. This was when Angular JS was out, so the very first one. And I don't know if they're still doing Angular there or what. But I didn't stay long enough for that. It was just an internship.
Right.
And it was during the semester. And after that, I had the opportunity actually for a couple internships. And I kind of had to weigh the pros and cons for them. And obviously, I went with ESPN. I just it's kind of been it was a dream of mine. Just to combine. So I thought if I can combine sports and software, two things I'm pretty passionate about,
Yeah.
that would be really cool.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it was cool. The campus was cool. Everything about it was cool. The team was the most important part, and
Yeah.
I owe a lot to those guys for my self development and growth as a software engineer.
And I'm proud. I mean, it's probably safe to assume that anybody who sees your resume, they see ESPN, and they're like, wow.
Yeah, no, I always
It's
get
just-
questions about it. So it's interesting because it depends who you're catering to also. Not catering to, but what they see in it. So some think the Disney side is really cool.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I went because ESPN.
Right.
But if you don't know that much about the infrastructure of ESPN, ESPN is actually under Disney. So it's actually a Disney internship.
Right.
And a lot of people, there's a lot of stuff on YouTube and everything
Mhm.
to get these Disney internships. Like
Right.
they're pretty competitive. I don't think they're anywhere near like where Google or Microsoft is.
Right.
But they are pretty competitive. So there's a lot of tips and tricks how to get them.
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
really look into that,
Mhm.
but I know they're out there. So what I did there was worked on software for the ad sales department. It was
Oh, okay.
enterprise software.
Yeah.
So it was their whole ad suites system. So everything that involves, buying if a company, I don't want to give a company shout out, but
Right.
it'll get demonetized or something. So if a company came in and purchased slots, you have to be careful about where you put them, because if you watch these, especially ESPN, they will not show like two beer commercials
Mhm.
in the same like span. So
Right.
within like from say a game cuts and goes to commercial break,
Mhm,
you
mhm.
only see one like about beer
Okay.
and
okay.
only one about a car, like a certain car
Yeah,
brand.
yeah.
Like they sell that
Mhm.
exclusivity. Like you're gonna be the highlight for that category.
Right.
And they just sell impressions and all that. If just from being in that, I learned that males 18 to 34, if you want that as an
Yeah.
advertisement, you're
Right.
coming to ESPN. It's not even. It's like a no-brainer. So
That's true. That's
that
true.
was really cool, and that was a good experience to large systems
Yeah.
for me. So it was a greenfield development project from the ground up, but we had these leveraged systems with
Mhm.
APIs and stuff. So it was my first experience diving into like a large software system. You
Right.
know,
Yeah,
now a lot of places you go to, they'll have like existing APIs and stuff,
Mhm.
you know, that you call for data. So that was really cool. Whereas American Fidelity was more a smaller company.
Yep.
Not as big of a company to, not as much data probably in what I was doing. It was more maintenance, the position I had there. And then after ESPN, I came back, finished out a semester before I graduated college, and I actually had a good relationship with my team, and they were looking for a developer.
Right.
But I didn't know that till like near the end, like near. I graduated in December, so I was a fall graduate. Usually people graduate in the spring.
Right.
I ended up graduating in December, and I think I didn't get word that they had a position open until like November or something. So it was very close. So I was obviously looking for other stuff.
Yeah.
And I was looking in Austin, Texas, and Dallas, Texas.
Okay,
So
yeah.
I was already. We were making trips. I went out there with Paula and my wife now.
Shout out to Paula.
Yeah, shout out to Paula. And we were actually really serious about going there. And then I got the confirmation that this was going to happen with ESPN, and I was like, well, I'm going. And especially they do like bonuses there and
Yeah.
relocation. You didn't have to worry about a thing. So obviously that was really attractive
Right.
for me to go. So it was a no-brainer. And it's just um I was familiar with the team, so I didn't have to like work my way and where they trust me. They kind of already did.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
still an intern, so and moving into a new grad, so I wasn't like the bomb.
right.
But
Well, that's kind of similar how I got into Lucent's engineering department, software engineering department, because I was already working for the company.
mhm,
Although I wasn't an intern, I was in their telco
right,
division,
yeah,
but I had the inside track to the engineering department that was at our location. I would always go over there, talk to some of the developers.
right,
Oh yeah, I'm a
yeah,
student. I'm
yeah,
going to school for software development, and I
yeah,
put all those relationships in place, planted all the seeds, and then it was a natural transition because they're, hey, we have a position for you. I'd
right,
always drop little things in there. Yeah, I'm about to graduate next semester.
yeah,
So
hints and yeah.
yes, yeah. So you had kind of had the same deal, right, with
Yeah.
ESPN. So
Yeah, I
that's
went
pretty
for an
awesome.
internship, so I wasn't in like another role. I'd have to live up in Connecticut. That's
Right,
where they
right.
did their development. Since then, they do some mobile development now in California,
Okay,
which
okay.
is nice because that's the thing. Like Connecticut wasn't really that attractive
Hmm,
to,
hmm.
to like a lot. And I remember the recruiters having a really hard time getting like talent up there because of the
Yeah,
locale. It's not like a big city.
right.
So and it was cool. Don't get me wrong. The culture around ESPN was like its own city in
Hmm.
Connecticut. It
Yeah.
was pretty big and it was really cool. So after that, I worked there for a year and a half, 2 years, I think, and then I moved to Dallas, Texas. Got an opportunity in consulting down here at a place called Sparkhound.
Hmm.
Stayed there about a year. It was more JavaScript based, a lot of it, and I helped out a lot of people kind of with JavaScript.
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
kind of brought that piece to that company, I guess.
Right.
Because this was a consulting firm that it didn't seem like they did a lot of coding. Like they
Hmm.
were more a traditional consulting um, company where they would basically just take what you gave them. And
Right.
that's something I didn't like about it. I'm like, I want to be a software engineer. And I just didn't know going in. So
Right.
it was still a good experience. I'd probably do it differently, but it was a soft landing place. I had somebody I worked
Hmm.
with to
Yeah.
go there, and they're
Yep.
not a bad company at all. It's a great company if you're into traditional consulting, and I'll emphasize traditional consulting as many times as I can. Um, so after that, went to Supreme Lending
Hmm. Hmm.
through them actually. So they did get me a job that was more my skill set,
Right.
which is good. And I think if you go into consulting with a skill set, it helps.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because if you don't go into it with a skill set, they'll kind of just
Throw you where they want
turn
you.
your skill set into whatever they can at the time, and that could be really dangerous and hurt a lot of people's careers,
Yeah.
in my opinion. Um, so after that, went to Supreme Lending.
Hmm. Hmm.
I got introduced to spas there, specifically React. We did some React up there. We were another greenfield system. We were creating um, this loan origination software system.
Okay. Yep. Yep.
So they brought a whole new team there
Hmm.
from the ground up. A lot of cool guys I met from there. Have good relationships with them today. Um, so I was more of like a senior level resource there.
Hmm. Yeah.
It just in respect of where everybody was at,
Hmm.
we had enough experience where we were kind of all on the same level.
Right.
Maybe a couple of us were a little higher than in different areas, but we were
Hmm.
all kind of right in the same area of expertise. So after that, since that was with the consulting firm and I ended up leaving the consulting firm, I obviously that was a side effect. I had to leave that company.
Right. Right.
And I would have probably stayed. I didn't know um the real life scenarios that play out when
Hmm.
you leave consulting because
Yeah.
they can, like, you're free at that point, so
Right.
they can actually have discussions to like buy you out from that because it's in the fine print of consulting that you can't work for the the company you work for.
Right.
But if they're gonna lose you anyways, I mean, they're like they just sell you off, or
Mhm.
they're able to come up with a dollar amount or however they do it to retain your services. But I had already accepted the new place, Service Autopilot, where I met you at. So I was like, thanks for the offer, but I already made commitments. So there was nothing wrong with like money or anything. It was on par.
Right.
But I just had a different opportunity. And at Service Autopilot, we had JavaScript. We did Vue full stack development. So Vue was something I wanted to try, and that coming from React. That was something really cool to me to get experience on, and we did a lot of distributed systems. So they were taking this monolithic system and kind of spreading out some heavy pieces.
Yep.
Making it all message based and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool. Probably stayed there a year, almost a year. Ended up going to a place where I'm at today, Code Authority, where I'm a full stack developer, heavy emphasis on JavaScript. That's kind of just where I've been able to earn my keep, I guess. Because, I mean, if you think about it, when has JavaScript really been relevant? Like, how many years now?
Quite a while.
Really, but I mean, like the new like spas.
Oh well,
stuff
that's
where
new.
they're really heavy on
where they're
the
heavy
front
on the front end.
end.
Yeah. I mean, JavaScript's been around obviously for a while, but with these new front end systems and frameworks, it definitely is the sexy part of our career.
Well, and it's only been like 5 or so years, right, for that
Yeah.
stuff. So I mean, that's where I kind of made my my bed right there in the JavaScript land and the new like what's on the edge,
right?
And have been able to bring that to companies. That's kind of where I make my money. I obviously do full stack development, so I do it all. I do SQL and back end, middle tier. I can do it all, but that's really where I emphasize my talent.
And see, that's where I was talking about, frameworks, the new JavaScript frameworks, and how they're actually building a new career path for software development. You're seeing now more and more, and we had it at Code Authority where we had front end developers.
Right. We had this project where,
So it is almost started or created a new career path for people that want to stay in the front end realm and do a lot of creativity with look and feel. Well, okay, that's a lot of information about the two of us. Hopefully, people can take that information and they can see where our experience lies and want to come back and visit us and keep up on some of our episodes.
Decide if you want to stay with us or maybe discredit us. Not come back. Say we don't know what we're talking about. I want some Silicon Valley guys. And that's fine too. We won't cater to everybody for sure.
Right, but this is definitely a journey that me and you are going to go through. And we're going to have a lot of fun with it, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it. So I guess with that, we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Yep. Thanks.
Thank you.